Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. But when I call out to the door, I hear no call from the hall. Instead, a raven enters swiftly moves onto the floor. This is no ordinary raven, tapping at the door of Craven, but an ally sorcerer with news my nemesis has ensnared, my love Lenore. From here we leave on trusty steed to save my beloved damsel, for I will not stand for such an injustice, maybe before, but nevermore. And this is It Records. Welcome back to the It Records podcast, all you creatures of the night. Thank you for joining us. I am here. I am one of your hosts, Matt Johnson. And I'm joined with always the other host of the show,
the other
Peter Hanson and Lindsay Clark. They're here as well.
We're just subbing for the real people.
I appreciate that. You guys have been doing it for so long. I really appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, those other guys are just really sick right now.
Yeah, they've been going through some stuff. Oh, that's great.
We understand.
Well, thanks for tuning in. I was going to give a synopsis of the film and tell you what the film was, but before I do that, Peter, do you have a creepy headline or anything for us on the podcast?
No. The last time I tried, it crashed my computer, so I'm going to avoid.
Oh, that's right. That's right. What?
So that's your creepy headline, is that last time, this is take 2 of us recording this episode, and I was looking up a creepy headline for this exact episode, and it crashed my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay,
Something
you know,
just aren't meant
maybe
to
it's
be.
a good thing that I don't do these very often.
That's true. It not only crashed your computer, but it corrupted the file on the computer as well. It went into your computer.
Well, here's the funny thing is, though, I recorded on my phone.
Oh.
So there's 2 devices that went wrong for me.
That went wrong for you.
Yeah, she really...
So it's just like this whole episode
Double
is
whammy.
It
cursed.
really is. That's your...
That's my creepy
Yeah, that's
headline
more of
for
a...
you.
That's a very
That seems to be the main
close to
message here.
home creepy headline.
Yeah, I was very pissed off when it happened.
So, for this week on the podcast, if you picked up on the poem that I was using in the intro, we did the 1963 film The Raven, directed by Roger Corman. Not the 1955 version or the John Cusack version you're maybe more familiar with. This is 1963. Our first Roger Corman film.
Or the 30s version.
Yeah.
The one with Bela Lugosi. I believe it's Bela Lugosi
Yeah, you're
and
Just kidding, I haven't
the
seen
other
her.
guy. The guy who's in this movie. I forget
Boris
his name.
Karloff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
him. Isn't both of them in The Raven in the
Boris
30s?
Karloff.
Yeah, Boris Karloff is in that version, and he's in this one as well. So he's in 2 different versions of The Raven. 2 very different interpretations of The Raven as well.
I mean, I couldn't tell you what the other Raven's about. I didn't even know it existed until I looked it up.
Yeah. Well, it follows more in line with the poem as much as you can. Make that.
I guess this doesn't really follow the
Think
poem
this,
except for the end and the beginning
Yeah.
kind of deal.
Yeah. This movie kind of diverts from that pretty
Yeah.
much.
It kind of goes all over the place. This one, directed by Roger Corman, 1963, stars Boris Karloff, as we said, Vincent Price, is it
Jack
Jack Nicholson, is it
A
Yeah, young,
Jack
very young
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson and Peter
Peter
Lorre.
Lorre as well as in this one. So it's a star-studded cast, but the movie begins with the poem. Vincent Price is reading the poem that I briefly spoke to at the beginning. But then it takes a turn when the Raven actually enters Vincent Price's study, because it turns out it's Peter Lorre who is trapped in the body of a raven. And they're both sorcerers of some sort, which I know is not in the poem.
Yeah, they took liberties with this poem for sure.
Yeah. It definitely departs from an Edgar Allen Poe, a macabre, gothic type poem, which this would generally fall under in the horror genre, that gothic time period, ghosts and architecture and whatnot, but it turns into like a slapstick kind of horror comedy, I'd say.
Yeah, they definitely don't take themselves too seriously with this movie, which is probably for the better, because there's not a whole lot to go off of. Obviously, like you said, it's a poem. You know, how long is a poem? And they're making like almost like an hour and a half movie out of it.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah. So the humor is definitely part of its charm, because it's kind of a thin plot.
Yes, it is.
Very...
Like, I couldn't tell you what, like, the middle 45 minutes was. I can't even remember. I just remember it was, like, them trying to get to Peter Lorre's castle or something. Like, it was just, like, a bunch of, like, kind of like, oh, let's get distracted over here.
Yeah, it seemed like they had kind of the framework of what the story would be, but Peter Lorre becomes this human and says that, you know, I wanted to say sassafras, but what is Boris Karloff's name? He's like the sorcerer. Do you remember what his name was?
Oh, God. Let's just call him Sassafras.
I hope.
I think we should just call him Sassafras.
Scarabus is his name. Dr. Scarabus.
Yes. Yeah. I like Sassafras better.
Same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Peter Lorre's character basically tells him, Vincent Price, that Scarabus has his love Lenore, who he thought has been dead for 2 years. And then we kind of have like 40 minutes, I feel like, of just trying to get to Scarabus's castle. It's kind of slowly paced in there. Of slapstick humor as well. Some improv by Peter Lorre.
Yeah, I would say he's probably the highlight of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is Peter Lorre. I haven't seen him in, I would say, almost anything, because I've never seen M, which I think is his most famous role.
Yeah, he's in Casablanca as well.
And then, okay, I don't remember that at all, actually. I've seen that movie, but I don't remember him in it.
Yeah.
But I do like him in this movie. I think he's, like, very fun, and he treats Jack Nicholson so poorly, who I didn't even realize it was him until, like, he took his hat off. Like, I was like, oh shit, that's Jack Nicholson, because he didn't have his, like, deep, like, characteristic voice for him. Like, he sounded so different until, like, he got his crazy eyes when he was, like, driving the wagon. Like, I kind of, like, I still didn't notice it was him, but, like, I was like, he looks familiar.
That's when the Jack we know came out, when he was a crazed carriage driver.
Yeah, you know, he brought his shining character out.
Yeah.
His Jack Torrance character.
This was just the lead up to it. This.
Yeah. 40 years in the making, or however long it was.
Yeah. But I believe, and this could be wrong, that Jack Nicholson was also in another one of Roger Corman's films. Corman did, like, the Poe series. He did, like, 8 of them. This is the 5th one in the series. And I think...
Well, I can tell you what... We had this conversation before. Sorry to interrupt you. He's in Little Shop of Horrors, which Roger Corman...
There we go.
...did that one.
I think that's what it was, yep. And I think this is also, like, 2 or 3 podcasts in a row that Jack Nicholson, in some fashion or another, has been brought up. He makes his way into the podcast.
Instead of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it is 6 degrees of Jack Nicholson right now.
It seems like it. He just spontaneously will come up. Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned the Poe series, which this is part of, and Corman did, and Richard Matheson wrote this. He wrote a few of the other ones, and he's a fairly famous screenwriter. But Vincent Price was he in most of the other ones?
Yeah, he was in a good chunk of them. He was... Oh, God. I know he did Pit and the Pendulum, which I believe is a Poe. What's the other one? Is it, like... Red Mask? Not Mask. What is it?
The Mask of Amontillado?
Masquerade?
The Red Masquerade, I think, is one, but Lindsay has one as well.
What'd you say, Lindsay?
I'm acting like I know Poe, but I don't.
I mean, you don't know that. You probably do.
I was thinking of the Cask of Amontillado, but I don't think that's what you were thinking of.
Yeah, but that is Poe, though.
There's another. Yeah.
I don't even know Poe. I just know movie titles.
Yeah, you're right. Red Mask. The Mask of the Red Death.
There it is.
Yes.
Mask of the Red Death.
Published 1842.
So the Poe cycle included The Pit and the Pendulum, House of Usher, Premature Burial,
That's a House of
Tale
Usher.
of Terror, also as Vincent Price, and Peter Lorre, The Raven, The Haunted Place, Mask of the Red Death, The Tomb of Ligeia, The Terror, and The Oblong Box.
Oh wow, he did a shit.
The
ton.
Terror has Jack Nicholson, Boris Karloff as well. Vincent Price is in The Oblong Box. Christopher Lee's in that as well. Yeah, Vincent Price is in a lot of these. So yeah.
They probably had a lot of fun time doing those.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and that speaks to this film where it seemed like we know that from the production there was a lot of improv in these films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much of Boris Karloff dismay because he's
Yeah.
such a classically trained actor that he was
Right.
getting really annoyed with Peter Lorre. And then this is from Vincent Price's words actually, because I had the Blu-ray of this and it had an intro of Vincent Price saying how much fun they had, and he's like, Peter Lorre was doing this and Boris Karloff was doing that, and he's like, and I was in the middle. 'Cause
Right.
he's like a classically
Vince-
trained guy, but I would say Vincent Price has a really good sense of humor.
Yeah, he didn't care like which way the wind blew with that one, but it seems like Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff really clashed over the ad-libbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Boris Karloff just doesn't do that.
Doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You read what's on the paper.
Which I wonder how much of what was on the paper actually happened in that end of the film fight scene. If that was all script.
Yeah.
Oh God. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because we get Vincent Price and Peter Lorre make it to the castle of Scarabus, and they basically are taken prisoner, and Vincent Price breaks out, and there is I would say a conservatively 15-minute duel, 10-minute maybe.
It was very long.
It's gotta
It
be at least
was.
10
yeah.
minutes.
It is definitely a highlight of the movie because, like we said, it kind of slogs in the middle, and then all of a sudden you're like, "All right, sit in that chair, and I'm gonna sit in that chair across from you. It's time to duel."
One of the most entertaining
like,
seated
It was
duels.
like-
Yeah.
The most laid-back duel I've ever seen.
I
Yeah, they were-
did like how it was very corny.
Yeah. It didn't take it,
Like it was just like little shooting little lasers at each other.
or making a snake appear around your neck. And it was like, you go, then I go. You go, then I go. It's like back and forth, back and forth. It wasn't.
Did you guys think of Harry Potter versus Draco Malfoy?
There was a little bit of that, I think,
Yeah.
that inspired Harry Potter, I
Right.
guess.
Right. Are you,
Yeah, it's like you wish.
you scared Scarabus? Something like that? I see it. It was a Hogwarts-like castle they were in.
Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Which it was a reused set, right? From all the other films in the Poe series?
Yeah, I think it was the fourth one in the making. I want to
Okay.
say. I think was what Vincent Price said, and then they said at this. Oh no, this was with. It also had an interview with Roger Corman,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about the process of how like that he really liked the set he had for this one because it was accumulated from the previous. I think it was 3 movies that they did, and then like this was the most extravagant of the ones up to that point.
Yeah.
Because they had so many sets that they were just reusing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying how much fun they had with the duel. Like, they were saying, like, because they used a crane, obviously, with just, like, and then, making them just, like, fly back and forth, and everyone just had a great time doing that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
I'm curious to know how they did those special effects. Because it's not CGI. I think it's drawn, like, after the fact, is how they did it. You know how they did like
Especially
old,
in the beginning.
like old movies with color.
Mhm.
You know, like old black. Yes, I think it's like to that degree is what I'm imagining.
Yeah, 'cause it's 63. I doubt they're putting it in for CGI back then, especially with the budget. The budget was like
Yeah.
300.
No, it was
Yeah,
super
especially
low.
it was
Yeah.
basically all on screen. I feel like between Karloff, Price, and Lorre.
Yeah. No, yeah, Roger Corman, during his interview, he was saying that obviously there wasn't CGI at that point, and he was like pretty proud of what he was able to do with the technology they had, and I was just like, wait, how did he do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of impressive if we're sitting here how many years later asking how he did it. You know?
Yeah.
It's just because like that type of style is just like, I would say, almost dead. You might have like obviously like a few like filmmakers from school probably like, oh, like, you know, there's always somebody that's
Yeah, it tries to.
yeah, there's still people that cut film, like even though like no one really knows how to cut film anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these lost arts that
Yeah, just to preserve it.
are taught to some degree. Yeah, just to preserve it.
Well, I mentioned that the box, not the box office, but the budget was 350,000. Do you guys know if this was a box office success or a flop? What is your?
I know it's
I know
a success.
those. Hang
Okay.
on. Give me a second. It was a box office success.
Oh yeah. It was like 1.5 million. Is what it made.
Whoa.
So,
Yeah.
and it's still pretty high on Rotten Tomatoes. People still seem to enjoy this film. It's like 94%. I feel
Yeah.
No, it's not that high, is it?
like. I thought
it
it
was
was
more mid-range. I thought it was in the
Nah,
60s.
I saw something in the 90s too, I swear.
Yeah, maybe I'll
Really?
check the 63 version. Maybe I was looking at a different one. No, 92
Yeah.
is
Maybe we're looking at a different one.
Vincent
Oh.
Price.
Maybe I was looking at the wrong one then.
Maybe it was. Are you looking at John Cusack again? Or John Cusack's The Raven. I know you're a big fan of Johnny Q. No.
I mean, I like him in... What do I like him in? I'm sure I like him in
Con
Say Anything. That's pretty
Air.
Can we talk about Say Anything another time?
good.
We can.
I like
No, that's a
High
teen.
Fidelity. High Fidelity is a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, and also Serendipity.
I
I've
haven't
never
seen
seen
Serendipity.
We cannot. You guys need to watch it. I won't make you do a podcast about it because it doesn't really fit the genre, but
Hot
We'll
Tub
talk
Time
about it
Machine.
another
I like
time.
the first Hot Tub Time Machine.
The first Hot Tub Time Machine was alright. Second one, it didn't really do it for
No.
me.
Not so
That's
much.
a-
can't win them all.
Well, with that, do you guys have anything else to add before we defend or destroy the
I have a question for you.
I can't guarantee an answer, but I'll give it my shot. The best shot.
As if you haven't talked enough. No, I'm kidding. Back to old talkings of horror movies is like horror significance. How would you place it? How would you talk about it?
Mhm.
I'm trying to struggling with it myself. Like, I mean, obviously you have Corman, who is a huge producer, who started so many people's careers. You got that avenue. You got Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff. You got those people. Even Jack Nicholson. He's in some horror movies.
Mhm.
But what about the movie itself? You have a lot of people significant in the horror genre, but how would you put the movie in it?
It's a good question. It would start off with, and it still holds on to these elements of the gothic horror, with almost seems like spirits or ghosts are haunting this castle that Vincent Price lives within. Then you have some magical elements to the film with the Raven. And it kind of felt like it was going to go down that path of bringing someone back from the dead, or Lenore was a ghost and she was going to come back. Gothic horror also has those old crypts, the brick castles, the lit torches and shadows. That's a whole element of Gothic horror. So it retains those, but then it's slapstick horror. It's not so much referential, It's not making fun of the genre itself, but it's very has those cathartic moments of humor that provide levity.
Kind of cheeky.
Yeah. So it has the gothic elements, but it would fall, I think, into the slapstick horror genre. Kind of like Abbott and Costello's, almost meet Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that, where you have all those gothic elements, you have the monsters, but there's the jokes that really sell the movie. Kind of
What's your favorite Abbott Costello one?
I honestly think, and it's not because I just do a horror podcast, I love the Meets Dracula and Frankenstein. I have that one on DVD. That one always cracks me up. I've watched that since I was like 8 years old.
I've only seen one of them, and I want to say, oh god, is there one that's just Frankenstein? Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
There might be, but I thought it was both of them were in one. It was Meet Dracula and Frankenstein, and it was Lugosi.
Maybe that's the one.
It was Lugosi and Karloff.
Lugosi was in it. Okay, that's probably the one I saw, and I remember Vincent Price also making a cameo appearance in it. You don't see him because he's the Invisible Man. Is that the one?
Probably, and they also do an Invisible Man full video too.
I did know that, and unfortunately, it is not Vincent Price.
It's just a cameo in the Meets Frankenstein. Yeah. Well, what you mentioned is, I mean, I kind of gave some horror significance, but as you even said, Pete, you got Nicholson, who's in horror. Karloff is the original Frankenstein in The Mummy, and Vincent Price are just horror legends, really. But I thought this is the second Price movie we've done in the podcast, or
definitely where he's the lead. Like there's what's it called? The Shakespeare
Theater
one.
of Blood.
Thank you.
He's not in, but The Fly. We did the Jeff Goldblum one, but he was the original film. Wasn't
yes.
The original.
He makes a cameo. I guess cameo. He's like the secret bad guy in Dead Heat.
That's right. That's right.
I always manage to forget that.
That's right. He's in it for like
and
5
I think
minutes.
He makes yeah, and I think he also makes a cameo in another movie we've done, and I can't remember. Because I could have sworn there was another one.
There most likely is.
But I couldn't tell you.
Alright, so with that, do we want to...
But Lindsay. Yeah, I was going to say, Lindsay, start off with Defend or Destroy.
Say no more. Well, after some careful consideration, it's been a few weeks since we did the first version of this podcast. I have not changed my opinion. I'm going to defend this movie. It's not the kind of movie I would have ever thought to watch for myself, but I really liked it. I actually thought the pace was pretty fast, because I think it's about 90 minutes or something like that, so I wasn't I didn't think it was dragging too much. I really thought that Vincent Price nailed his character. I liked Peter Lorre too. It had funny dialogue. The gothic scenery was definitely in there. I just thought it was very lovable and entertaining. And there's the elements of the satire and horror thrown in there too. And I just thought it was a nice blend of those things. So I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. All right, let's hear it.
All right. Pete, do you mind if I go first, or do you want?
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I will, for The Raven, 1963, after, again, some careful consideration, due to my last recording, I'm going to stick with my original assessment, which was, I destroyed The Raven. Not to say I didn't enjoy seeing Boris Karloff, Peter Lorre, and Vincent Price in a film together, and kind of seeing them bounce off of each other. They're just left a lot of room in the middle where maybe there could have been some more plot to put in to thicken some of the character development, or even kind of build the stakes at the end when the duel came about, that I wish would have been in there. It's a very interesting take of the Poe, but I think with all of this cast, it could have even been better if they would have done just an actual adaptation, where you got Price and Karloff there, and Lorre to kind of bring a real heavier feel to the film. So with that, I'll pass it to Pete. I destroyed the Raven. 63.
So I don't know what you guys are talking about the original recording because mine doesn't exist.
Whoa!
But anyways, I'm gonna kind of echo what you're saying, Matt. I also destroyed the Raven, and I think this movie has a lot going for it because there's a lot of like I guess you could say nostalgia because you have these like three heavy hitters from like old films, and you got Roger Corman, and there's a lot of likability because they're making, it's funny, it's silly, it's not taking itself too seriously, and it's short, but it does kind of slog for me. Like I was just like, oh god, like I feel like it wasn't really going anywhere for a long time, and I would say like. It doesn't even need to be darker for me. I just think the script was the issue. Like, it just was weird, and I think, like, Vincent Price and Peter Lorre were trying to improve on it by improvising. And, I don't know, something fell flat, and I don't know where it was. It just, I don't know, I just needed to have an overall better story. And, again, that's hard to do because it is a poem.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of a hard criticism because it's pretty hard to do, but that's how I feel.
That's fair, and it's hard to make it, you said, into a film, this short poem, but one of Richard Matheson's, the screenwriter, he even said he thought it was funny they were trying to make this poem into a film and found it so absurd that the only way you could make it into a film was to kind of make it a comedy. And that's why he kind of went in a different interpretation of it. So that's partially his fault. He just wanted it to be different when he was writing it. But you have 2 destroys and 1 defend. Never mind. We've been shaking it up pretty recently. There's been a lot of unanimous defender destroys recently. So
yes, there has. There has been a lot of disagreements lately.
Yeah, we can't always
exactly.
agree.
For the sake of the podcast, we can't always agree. Yeah, so if you want to watch this film, I watched it, I think, on Google Play. It's on, you can rent it on iTunes and YouTube, probably Amazon as well. Is there anywhere else you guys found it that you watched it?
I got that Daily
It wasn't on Daily Motion?
I owned it.
Okay.
Yeah. I owned it on Blu-ray.
Or you can just own it.
From Scream Factory. Yeah, from Scream Factory.
Yeah. You can just buy it outright or find it on Daily Motion. So that's where you can check out this film. But until next time, get at us on Facebook or Twitter, on social media if you want us to do a full-length episode or a mini episode of something that you'd like, or if you'd like us to do anything really on the podcast, let us know. We'd like to hear from you guys. Subscribe to us on iTunes, wherever you listen to us. That helps us out. But until next time, I'm Matt Johnson, and I will remain in those shadows.
I'm Peter Hansen, and this movie is Nevermore.
He took mine. I'm gonna take back that.